It is the Earthmaster back here on this Monday night. It is August 14th, 2023, about 10:41 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity looks like some movement out on the Big Island of Hawaii with a 1.9 earthquake. Also, we did see some activity ramping up here across the Aleutian Trench, very close to where the USGS has just raised up the alert level for this volcano here. The Mount Shishaldin area, I believe that's how you pronounce that, has been upgraded there by the USGS. This notification was put out here just earlier today. Current volcano alert level, a watch, and current aviation color code orange. Now the level of unrest has increased at this volcano. Steady increase, in fact, and seismic tremor has been observed over the past 5 hours. This was put out again a couple hours ago. Elevated surface temperatures consistent with lava erupting at the summit are evident in the latest satellite-based data. So it looks like based on previous eruption cycles over the past month, ash emissions are likely to occur and may increase here over the next few hours. There was a pretty significant ash event which sent some particles up to around 40,000 feet above the sea level in recent hours here. So just continuing to watch this volcano. Again, it just sits here right off the Aleutian Trench, very close to where this earthquake activity is taking place. Let's check this out here real quick. Let me check this out. I might be off here a little bit on the estimate of this volcano, but definitely seeing some seismic activity increasing around this area along the Aleutian Trench. Of course, what happens here along the Aleutian Trench does affect areas down into the subduction zone. Now, we have seen, aside from today's activity, let's check out the last 30 days of 4.5 and above around the Aleutian Trench area. Now, this is a little bit more closer to that volcano that is currently active there, that the USGS just put out that notification for. We did see some activity upstream here on the subduction zone interface, with 7.2 about a month ago now, along with many other earthquakes. Now, you got to remember here, when the Pacific plate subducts underneath the North American plate into the subduction zone levels, you get this trail of volcano across the Aleutian Trench here, and that's similar to the Cascades over here in Northern California, but not such as a long region, or a it's basically more active than the subduction zone around Northern California and the Oregon region as far as the Cascade volcanoes go. So I believe firmly we're going to see probably some more active volcanoes up here today. We did see a 5.0, a little bit, I believe that's a little bit to the southwest of where that current volcano is taking place here. Looks like it's around this area. Little small earthquake, but yeah, either way, 5.0, 39 kilometers deep, and some other earthquakes out here. Keep an eye on the volcanoes along with the this recent movement up here across the subduction zone. Things getting pretty active up there across the Aleutian Trench. All right, what else we got here for earthquake activity? Hawaii lighting up like crazy, and of course that is the Kilauea volcano, still showing a trail of activity stretching out here. This has been very consistent over the past couple days here. Let's go the last 7 days, and you can see kind of a line of earthquake activity stretching out here, and most of this is very shallow earthquake activity, with a couple somewhat deeper ones there below the surface, about a mile or two below the surface. So I believe firmly magma is on the move. Let's see what we got here for the HVO. It's going to be the volcano folks there in Hawaii. Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. There we go. Kilauea status report. Ooh, things getting interesting here. So status report right now is obviously, they're going to put out a little notification. We have seen elevated earthquake activity along with elevated tilt inflation. Kilauea volcano is not erupting. This was put out 2:14 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time at the 14 UTC time. So that would be, I want to check this time real quick. Looks like about 5 hours or so ago. The Kilauea summit is currently exhibiting signs of elevated unrest. No unusual activity has been noted along the Kilauea's East Rift Zone or Southwest Rift Zone, but this is due to earthquake activity. Earthquake rates beneath the Kilauea summit region have increased from an average of 20 per day to over 40 earthquakes per day during the last week. Also, the ground deformation rates are elevated at the summit of Kilauea, similar to conditions before the eruption on June 7th. And I've been talking about that. I mentioned that over the past couple nights' videos that I believe this is going to kick up pretty soon. Earthquake swarms around a volcano, pretty good indicator of some magma on the move. The increase in seismic activity at Kilauea Summit yesterday was accompanied by a brief increase in the rate of ground deformation, which has since returned to steady state. But, again, this was put out about 5 hours ago. This will probably get updated here soon. Right now it's currently set at a advisory in yellow, but this should pop up here into the orange very soon with this elevated earthquake activity has taken place. Notice the increasing amount of earthquake activity here, and it's getting shallow, very shallow. So let's see if we can see what the tilt meters are doing here today. I wish they worked consistently out there, but there's quite a few stations that are not operable for whatever reason. If I was in charge of it, I'd have them working. But let's see, we gotta keep GPS camera for now. I just want to look at a couple different things here. Some of these tilt meter stations work, some don't. It looks like UWE station is gone. Let's see if that one works. This is a ground GPS displacement here. This goes back 2 years, and I'm not really interested in this long trend model because we know that it's rising in elevation, right, as far as the inflation goes. But I'd like to see something over the past week that could give us a good indicator of what's going on. And their data from the past 2 days is not working. I don't know if this one is or not. I don't even think this covers all of the... well, this goes from 812. There's obviously been some inflation here. How much so? And that's away from the crater region, though. So it's unfortunate that we can't really check the data accurately. But just know this, that if we see some further earthquake swarming, then we'll know that things are going to be ramping up here very soon. Cameras, got plenty of cameras out there that are working, I'm sure. Possibly. Maybe. Is it dark over there already? Yeah, well, yeah, it is dark, huh? 10 o'clock. I don't see any signs of any magma out there across the Kilauea caldera. This is the east wide-angle view from the HVO observation tower. Things look pretty quiet out there. No glowing. But again, earthquake swarming has kicked up here in the last couple hours, and last hour specifically. So we'll keep an eye on this overnight. The rest of the volcanoes out, or volcano areas, Mauna Loa, pretty quiet. Southeastern area around Pahala, still active, but that's almost always active out there. All right, let's see what we got here for California. A little bit of movement up here across the Mount Hood area. That's a volcano here along the Cascades. Very small earthquake, negative 0.2. A little bit of movement up here outside of the Mount Rainier area as well, but this could be general stress out here against the mountain range. But we'll continue to watch that. Let me check out the tremor here tonight, see what we got cooking. Looks like 158 epicenters of tremor, Northern California. This is the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. One earthquake here within that vicinity of the tremor, but upstream, 19 kilometers deep, 2.0 from earlier this afternoon. Bay Area, looks like San Francisco here near the San Francisco Zoo. Okay, 1.1, 12 kilometers deep on the San Andreas Fault. Getting some deeper movement quake activity down there. We'll have to watch that. It's normally a sign of things getting ready to move at the surface levels, or at least further closer to the surface. The rest of the Bay Area quiet for now. One earthquake out here across Long Valley supervolcano. We're just south of there near the unnamed faults and the volcanic tablelands. 2.3, about 5 kilometers deep or so. Let's see here. Let's see now. Stuff like this worries me when we get activity right up here in this little segment. It is the Hidden Springs Fault, but if you notice a close proximity here to the plate boundary, that's the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. We don't normally see too much activity specifically right on the North American side of the plate boundary within this segment here. It's always over here along the San Jacinto Fault Zone or south off of the Brawley Seismic Zone or much further to the east. So this activity, gotta watch that. That means that we're getting quite a bit of strain just off of the plate boundary, which we already know is fully loaded, right? Fully wound up, about as tight as a spring can go. It's just a matter of time, I feel, before this thing decides to pop the big one there, an 8.1 earthquake. For now, 1.0 and a 0.9, right about the level, right around 6 to 7 kilometers deep here. So watch this area pretty closely. Any day, who knows? Back in the 80s, they were saying that, right? But a lot has changed. As far as water levels go out here, I think it's just delayed it slightly. Yellowstone National Park up here, super volcano, 0.4. Very small microquake, but let's just double check and see what we got here across the Yellowstone thumbnails. These are the seismograph stations here across Yellowstone. There's the earthquake in the Mariana Trench area earlier this morning. A little bit of small earthquake activity here across the Yellowstone Park locally, but aside from that, doesn't look like any type of earthquake activity to chat about tonight. Texas, Oklahoma area, and we got one oddball earthquake up here on the border of Indiana and Illinois, 2.5 near Lawrenceville. Looks like about 2 kilometers deep for a 2.5. Pretty shallow, so I'm sure quite a few folks felt it, but not for sure the population density out here. Either way, a little bit of earthquake activity stretching up here. There's a few other fault systems that run north aside from the New Madrid seismic zone, so this is definitely some active areas. The U.S. hazard map kind of shows that. There's a couple different faults that run up through this area. Eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. Little activity here across the Guatemala area. Now this is the Middle America Trench. Last one looks like a 4.1, 35 kilometers deep, so we'll keep an eye on this area. Got things kind of brewing down there. Now, just real quick here on the Earthquake 3D globe, notice that we're missing a lot of the 2s and 3s and smaller earthquakes here across various areas of the globe. The reason why I did that, or had to do it, from the EMSC, I had to make a little change on the data for the globe, is because EMSC has been putting out wrong magnitudes here recently. And I say that because earlier this morning, this 4.8 they showed as a 6.2, and they actually left it in their catalog book. They didn't take it down, so the Earthquake 3D globe was picking up that 6.2, when originally the USGS reported it as a 4.8, and even the EMSC themselves dropped it down to a 4.8, but still left a 6.2 on their data system here that the Earthquake 3D globe uses. So I temporarily put the EMSC on pause as far as their worldwide earthquake activity goes. But we are still covered here across a good portion of the Mediterranean, Middle East, Europe in general out here, and the Iceland area, and areas around the Atlantic as well. But far as worldwide activity, the EMSC is not going to be popping up here on the globe, aside from locally. And we'll cover the rest of the areas out here with the USGS. And if need be, we'll zoom into certain areas like, say New Zealand, and we'll use GeoNet servers to verify data. But I just can't have a bunch of false earthquakes up here, wrong magnitudes. There's that 6.1 that I showed you there on the Yellowstone graph. Mariana Islands area, it looks like. We did see some deeper movement quake activity here into the Indonesia region. Now remember this area, lots of 2s and 3s. They're almost always having earthquake activity, but anything above the 4.0, most of the time the USGS will show it out here on the map. So it's not like we're missing any data. 5.5 Indonesia, 168 kilometers deep. That activity was following a 4.5, a little bit deeper activity here to the east along this plate boundary. So it looks like some strain definitely building up out here. Remember, this was our quiet zone last night. That has since filled in. And it looks like that pressure definitely wants to transfer over here across the areas west, around Taiwan, Philippines area, and possibly across the Java Trench. Notice this earthquake way up here from last night. Pretty deep one, 426 kilometers deep. And there is our 6.1 that struck following that deeper scale activity. A little bit further down along the plate boundary, but still the general plate movement here is to the northwest. So, you know, deeper activity adjustment across the Izu Trench. Appears to strain a little bit further areas down here across the Mariana Trench. Surface levels. So we'll continue to watch that region here, western side of the Filipino plate. Let's see here. One deep earthquake out here in Tonga Trench, south of Fiji, 532 kilometers deep, so adding further strain upstream, but also the momentum here of the Pacific plate adding to some strain out here. Quiet across the Solomon Islands for now. New Zealand, we'll go over here and check out the GeoNet servers. I may add them back onto the globe, but also for a little while they were showing some phantom large earthquakes around the globe, and you know, and people will be kind of freaking out a little bit. They show like a 7-pointer way up here in Japan when it was just a 5-pointer down here in Papua New Guinea. So their reporting system was way out far as their global earthquake reporting system. Locally, I'm sure they do a good job. That's why we'll just go to the GeoNet servers here to check New Zealand. 2.6 10 hours ago. That's going to be the felt earthquakes. The unfelt, unnoticeable earthquakes. Quite a few 1s and 2s out here along a major plate boundary. It does look like a little activity here across the Tonga, or the Taupo supervolcano. So let me check out the volcano drums here across New Zealand, see what Taupo supervolcano is doing. There's that activity last night. 3-pointer, I believe. Taupo's right here. These are 24-hour maps, so this was about, looks like 15 hours ago for that earthquake. But far as recent activity goes, most of the smaller quakes are really not even showing up all that much here across the area of New Zealand. Looks like maybe some activity here, South Island area. Seeing a little bit of movement. I believe that's going to be the, let's see here. That kind of looks like a 2.6 potentially down here within the last hour. So not a big earthquake whatsoever, but some of these other quakes are very small. Very, very, very small out here. All right, let's see what else we have here for the... Oh, that almost froze up for a second. You guys see that? A little weird. All right, let's see if we got anything else going on here. Hawaii just continued still seeing some earthquake activity. Definitely keep an eye on it. I do have, I added a station here. There's a little earthquake there on Yellowstone as well. But I did add a, where is it? Should be up here. Wow, okay, it looks like it disappeared. Did it disappear by itself? I did have a Hot Caves Hawaii station up here. But I do not see it up on the seismographs now. I'm not for sure what happened to it. I'll have to re-add that back. Keeping an eye on the movement there in Hawaii. I did add a Parkfield station here along the San Andreas Fault, so got California covered, but goodness. All right, so I'll add that on afterwards here after this update. All right, far as the rest of the globe here, again, you know, it may look quieter over here because we're lacking the 2s and 3s at the EMSC report. Not over here. Still got some movement kicking off here across the Mediterranean. 2.5, the latest quake here. Looks like along the plate boundary just off the coast of Greece, it looks like, potentially. 2s and 3s, very common across this area. Potentially could be a little bit more uptick than normal here, but we'll continue to watch that. Nothing above that level for now. Earthquake swarming out in the Iceland area. Looks like it's calmed down. The redder color rings indicating some older movement. But the rest of the Atlantic, clear. Not a whole lot going on there. You know, that's the important thing about getting rid of some of those very small quakes is we get to see where some of the moderate quakes happen and keep an eye on it that way. Because when the globe is so cluttered, it's really hard to pinpoint where some of this activity is taking place at. So we're just going to keep it like this for now until the EMSC can figure out what's going on with their reporting system. Like reporting facts, not false information out here. Okay, so let's see, what else do we have here? Space weather activity? Anything going on here? We did have a little blast on the western limb. Doesn't look like Kevin posted anything about it, but there was a far side eruption here earlier today that brought up a little eastern limb, excuse me, the eastern limb of the sun, I believe. We can double check that. I think we, let's see, we should be able to see it here in the UV filter array potentially. Yeah, so it's got to be over here, I believe, on the eastern limb. I don't think it was the western. A little bit of flaring here. This is the past 2 days, nothing big. The CMEs will obviously look like 17 right there. You guys see that? Look over here on the eastern limb right here in this sunspot. Watch this flaring right there. So a little small eruption that looks like over on the eastern limb of the sun from an active region. Now it looks like it's going to be 3405. The latest imagery here does show a pretty dynamic setup here for that core of the sunspot. Maybe an active region to watch here as it welcomes itself here across the visible disk of the sun. We got this one growing pretty rapidly. I'm sure that's a nice sunspot to observe with a solar telescope or solar camera. But there's a split here, and that is creating everything. Oh, well, that's keeping everything from being too active. So I think right now, a couple regions to watch are popping up here on the eastern limb of the sun. 3405. Welcome to the map. So right now, 90% chance for C flare, M flare at 15, X flare around 1%. I'm sure these will change in the coming days as that new sunspot comes around the bend. No major auroras, or at least no major aurora forecasts in the future. Things looking pretty calm. We'll see if we can't change that from these sunspots coming up here. Storm Prediction Center, we did have a little bit of thunderstorm activity out here around my neck of the woods earlier today. That's going to continue throughout the evening slightly. Probably dying off right now. Tomorrow, Tuesday, slight risk for some severe weather way up north. No tornado threat, at least for now. The main threat looks to be some wind possibilities, some high wind threats there around the Minnesota area. St. Paul, Minneapolis. So just a heads up. We'll check that in the morning, though, see if they advance this a little bit. So coming up here, we have some cooler weather for the West Coast and a pretty dynamic setup. Let me show you guys the symbol here. Now, high pressure under control out here across the Pacific Northwest. People complaining about the heat up there in the Pacific Northwest. They have a lot of wildfires up there too, so I feel bad for those guys. There's not much left to burn here in California, so we don't have any fires right now. But that high pressure system is going to get squashed. We got a couple different low pressure systems here that are going to join together out here across the west coast to create a pretty dynamic setup here for summertime. It's technically still summer, and this is should be pretty accurate because it's only a few days out. This isn't at the end of August or September. So this is going to be a lot cooler weather, potentially tapping into some subtropical moisture as well from a hurricane that you can see spinning down here. This could be a good soaker for Southern California and possibly up here in Northern California as well. Pending, notice that? Look at these low pressure systems suck up some of that tropical moisture there. This is going to be rather interesting. I can't wait to see how this plays out. So look for it around the 17th to 18th. We've got a trough forming out here just off the central coast of California. And as of right now, things are looking like it could be fairly dynamic. And then after that, a little bit of troughing coming in, keeping the high pressure up north, which is fine with me. No major ridging out there across the west coast, at least for now, for the remainder of August. So let's check out the... I did not want to do that. Hold on a second here. See how far this goes out. This should pick up the hurricane here. So right around the August 18th, 19th time period. Look at this hurricane. That looks like a very strong hurricane here, coming off the tip of the Baja California area. Now, depending, look at that. It comes really close to Southern California. Not uncommon. I mean, it's not common to see, a hurricane or some type of tropical storm hit Southern California. It just doesn't happen. By the time it does reach Southern California, it's broken down a lot. But this still looks pretty powerful being this close. Now, this is going to play out in a couple different ways. These two low pressure systems up here could potentially pull that hurricane further up north with a more powerful impact in terms of rain, wind, and whatnot into California. But certain weather models, look at that. It's heading up north, and then all of a sudden it takes a left turn, a real sharp left turn. But also at the same time, as it disintegrates, there's a lot of leftover moisture in the atmosphere, and those low pressure systems could provide a lot of rainfall out here for California in the summertime. It's just rare to see this type of setup out here. So I'm going to be covering this every day as far as these weather models go, and we're going to keep a close eye on it. And I'm looking forward to it because I live out here. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it pull up a little bit closer here. But either way, even if it takes this left turn, it starts to disintegrate and leaving behind still a lot of moisture up in the air for the low pressure systems to work with. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Look at Texas. Now this is way out there. This is around the end of August, so this may change. These weather models being this far out are not that accurate. Way out here like this. It does show some type of tropical development coming into the Corpus Christi area, it looks like, and soaking Texas. I do know Texas needs some rainfall, so we'll watch that and see how that plays out. But either way, some type of setup going on. Let's see here. 6 to 10 day outlook. I believe this has it. Climate Prediction Center. There we go. See? Even the Climate Prediction Center is picking up on this potential forecast that I just showed you here. Look at that. Dark green means sufficient rainfall above normal out here. And for California, for the most part, Northern California, we just don't get rain in August or July. Our rainy season doesn't start until November, if we're lucky. So this is rather impressive, and the big-time folks there at the Storm Prediction Center are picking up on it. Along with the precipitation chances, it looks like got some cooler weather out here for a good portion of the west. Gonna keep an eye on that, though. Earlier it showed some cooler temperatures out here, so this is a little odd, but either way, I think it's something to watch pretty closely. And we'll see how this plays out. But I know these guys out here in Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Arkansas, you guys are going to be cooking. That's going to be well above your average temperatures out there. So most of the time, that's how it happens. We get troughing out here in the west. The jet stream pulls in more moisture, or well, sometimes it pulls in more moisture, but also the heat builds out here underneath the high pressure dome. So enjoy it. I've had enough of it. I'm hoping we stay cool out here along the west coast. All right, double check. Make sure we're not missing anything out here. Live seismograph stations look calm for now. I will add that Hawaii station out there right after this update. It'll be called Hot Caves, and that's kind of, it's hard to find stations that are active out here, at least as far as I'm able to find, that are around the Kilauea volcano. But for the most part, the Hot Caves, I believe, is somewhere in between Kilauea and the Pahala area. Still pretty close, though. If you think about it, it's only about 5 miles away from the volcano. So earthquake activity will show up across this region. Okay, I think that's it. By the way, tomorrow is our member drawing. Tomorrow's our member drawing, folks. So if you want to be included in that drawing for tomorrow, you get to win a $50 Visa MasterCard or gift card, or a Earthmaster t-shirt. Our t-shirts now, we're going to go through a new company, not through Spring. I'm testing out the Streamlabs store, and they say they make some good quality. I read quite a few reviews, so we're just testing this out. So if you want a t-shirt, we'll provide you with a new t-shirt from this new company. Somewhat same designs in multiple colors and sizes. Or it's like a 9-piece geology mining kit. So the choice will be yours for tomorrow's drawing. Make sure you get in before we do the drawing. I'm probably going to do it around, tomorrow's supposed to be about 100 and something. But we'll do it about, we'll shoot for 2 o'clock California time. So that's not too bad. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time and so on. So we'll do 2 p.m. California time for the member drawing tomorrow, Tuesday. So hopefully you guys jump in the mix there. Looks like we lost a few members over the course of the month. You know, sometimes people forget to re-up. Sometimes people choose, just to do a month and then that's it. But either way, I think we had about 57 or 60 members, somewhere around there. So the chances, 1 in 60, that's pretty good to win some prizes out there. Anyway, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow sometime, unless something major happens overnight. Again, keep an eye on the Alaska volcanoes, definitely getting active out there, and a bunch of westward pressure movement out here across the Filipino plate areas, western side and the Java Trench. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow sometime. Have a good night.